Hey church, welcome and thank you for worshiping with us. Wherever you're worshiping, in your home or on your TV, laptop or phone, you are a part of this family. And you could watch or listen to past messages by heading to mycornerstone.family. On our sermons page, you can view playlists, search for past messages, and more. You can even listen to our content by subscribing to the Cornerstone America's podcast, which can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. I hope you enjoy the message and thank you for being a part of the Cornerstone family.
All right, so let's get into the message this morning. We're starting a new series with a new year, Get in Shape. So I should maybe say Happy New Year, everybody, right? Off to a good start. How many stayed up to bring in the new year? Wow, we got some sleepers in here. You know, it's the optimist that stays up until midnight to make sure the new year comes in, and the pessimist stays up until the new year comes to make sure the last year actually did end and into a new year. But it's always a good time to reflect upon the past, lessons we've learned, challenges that we've faced, blessings that we've received, then also to reflect into the future about what God has for us for this upcoming year. And so I want to do some of that this morning as we get started in this new series. So my question for you this morning is, what will 2025 be for you? What will 2025 be for you? Will it be just another year, or will it be a new year? Will it be another year, or will it be a new year? I think there's a difference. I think we can go through the motions and just go into another year of the same stuff that we've been doing in 2024 that may be working, may not be working. Or we can have a new year where we kind of reflect and pray through, and God, what do you have for us in this new year? So will you have another year, or will you have a new year? I think there's a big difference. If you go to my next slide, I think there's some differences here, difference between perspective and routine, that a new year represents a fresh start filled with purpose and growth and transformation. It's an opportunity to set new goals, to break old patterns, and to embrace new challenges. Or it can be just another year where it's just merely the passage of time, where things remain unchanged, that there's little focus on spiritual growth and personal growth. There's a difference between intentionality and complacency. With a new year, there's an opportunity for intentionality for a new year as we approach life with deliberate action, seeking God for meaning and purpose in this new year? Or is it just another year where we simply go through the motions and letting life happen to us without being proactive in engaging it? It's a difference between hope and stagnation. A new year comes with hope, the opportunity to trust God in a new year with change and possibility of change, and it's time to dream and take some steps towards what God has for us. Or it's another year to feel stagnant with little expectation and excitement about what God has for us. It's a difference between renewal and repetition. A new year emphasizes renewal, that there's new priorities, there's new relationship, there's new opportunities to trust God and walk with Him through. Or another year means repeating the same routines and habits without progress and without change. I feel like a new year is like a blank canvas that we get to come together with God and co-labor with Him and paint a picture that's meaningful and significant with our lives and those around us. So the question is, do we want a new year, or do we just want another year? So we're starting this series that I'm calling Get in Shape. And we're gonna cover, if you go to my next, here we go, Get in Shape. And so we're gonna cover 4 big areas of our life. We're gonna talk about our spiritual life, our physical life, our relational life, and our financial life. These are 4 big areas of our life. And I believe if we go in and we make some little changes in these areas, over time, little changes add up to big change. But we've got to tackle these 4 areas. What changes do we need to make? What little changes do we need to make in these 4 areas so that down the road, they kind of, in a sense, multiply and become big changes in our lives? Now, as we all know it, we've all done it before, New Year's resolutions, right? We've all done it, and we've all failed at it, and it didn't work for us. Every year, tens of millions of people make New Year's resolutions to lose weight, get healthy, get out of debt, become a kinder person, be wiser, better than they have been in the past. The busiest time for purchasing a membership club or a gym club is right now, or buying self-help books. I'm gonna be better this year than I was last year. And for Christians, at the same time, for many of us, it's a time that we resolve to spend more time with God each day, to maybe finally join the church, or get involved in a life group, or join a ministry team. But we know from personal experience that most of our resolutions don't actually stick with it. If you go to my next slide, have you guys heard of Quitter's Day? It's the second Friday of January. 80% of people who have New Year's resolutions by January 10th will have quit on their New Year's resolution. It's Quitter's Day, man. I think we should make it a federal holiday or something. I don't know, let's celebrate this Quitter's Day. That 80% of the people that started a New Year's resolution on January 1st, by the 10th, they are done. They've quit, they've given up. We know the gyms are packed the first week, the second week of January, then after that, they clear back out to their normal crowd. I think this concept, this idea highlights the difficulty of maintaining new habits, achieving new ambitions, starting something new in a new year. We've all experienced that. Many people on January 10th, Quitter's Day, already done. We have ideas of wanting to get healthy, right? To lose weight, to get in shape, to stop eating the junk food. And 2 weeks later, we are done with that. I don't know, I always love the reels that pop up and the person that's one day without sugar, and that's about all they can make it, and then they're back to all the junk food. Finances, we have these grand ideas that we're gonna spend less, we're gonna save more, we're gonna get out of debt, we're gonna pay off our home, we're gonna start tithing. 2 weeks later, we are done with that. Or for us as Christians and followers of Jesus, I'm gonna get back into a daily routine with God. I'm gonna read and pray every day. Good intentions and desire to do that, but we fall short many times. Why do we fail in our New Year's resolutions? Why do they fade so quick? Let me give you a few reasons this morning why they do. Number one is we rely on our own power. That's clear. As Americans, we love to do it in our own strength. We love to try to do it in our own strength. In 2 Timothy 1:7 says, for the Spirit of God gave us the Spirit of God does not, for the Spirit of God gave us, does not make us timid, but gives us what? Power, love, and self-discipline. The thing is, we can't make the changes on our own. That's why we fail. We need God's Spirit to give us the power to do it. And He gives us power, He gives us love, and He gives us self-discipline. I love that. Not only power, not only love, but self-discipline. You may be able to think, I don't have the discipline, I don't have the self-discipline to do it. Well, the Spirit of God gives you the discipline to do it. Like the fruit of the Spirit, the last one we don't talk about much, self-control. I just can't control myself, I can't stop, I can't make the change. But by His Spirit, He gives us self-control. Yeah, because we can't do it on our own. We don't have it in our own strength. We need His help. We need His power. We need Him, His Spirit, to give us the self-discipline and the self-control to make the changes that we need. Reason why we fall many times, stop short of keeping these resolutions or a new start for a new year, is we're relying on our own power. Philippians chapter 2, verse 13. One of my favorite verses when we talk about life change. For it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill His good purpose. So notice, it's God who works in you. God is working in you, and He's giving you the will and the power to make the changes that are needed in our life. Why? Because we can't do it in our own strength, in our own ability. So He gives us the will, He gives us the desire, but then He also gives us the power to make the changes. So the question becomes, when we're starting into a new year, we have hopes and dreams, and are we trusting in God or are we trusting in ourselves? Are we trusting in our own strength or are we trusting in His strength? It's the first reason why we fail. We tend to trust in our own strength. That's the way we're raised in America most of the time. Go to my next slide. Number two is we try to do it alone. We're a country of lone rangers. We love to just do it alone. We think, I don't need anybody. I'm a self-made man. I can do it all by myself. And we try to start out on a journey of change all on our own, all by ourselves with no support. We need support. We were made for community. We were made for family. We were made for relationships. And we change best in the midst of a healthy community. Many times we fail at our change plans because we try to do it alone, all by ourselves. What would happen if we had 1, 2, or 3 people that were close to us that were all working on the same area, all holding each other accountable, all moving in the same direction, all encouraging each other, all praying for each other? Life change would become much easier. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 24 and 25 says, let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds. There's a power in community. Something happens when we get around this church family, this church community where the Spirit of God is dwelling among us, but also in the midst of our relationships, change becomes possible through His Spirit and through His people. He says, let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds. Not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing. Look, he even talks about meeting together should be a habit. It's a part of our life. It's part of our lifestyle. I don't know for how many years Stacy and I going to church, being a part of a church and on Sunday mornings and Wednesday nights, it's a habit for us. It's a part of life. It's not a question on Saturday night or Sunday morning. Are we going to church tomorrow? Are we going to church this morning? It's just a habit that we have. Some people get in a habit of not coming to church. You know, you can make it a habit of not coming to church. You can make it a habit to come to church. It's part of our life. It's just part of who we are. He says, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. Do we have a close network of friends that will encourage us in the life change that God is asking us to do? Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9 and 10 says this, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up, but pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. What I'm saying today, what I'm saying this morning, is if we really want to see change in our lives this year, we need to tap into God's power and we need a support team around us. Those are 2 of the keys to seeing change in our lives. Number 3 is we don't understand the power of habits. And this becomes so powerful that habits, whether we realize it or not, they shape our life. They change our life. Why is it that some people are more effective than others? Why do some people accomplish more than others? They reach their goals or they set new heights, they reach new levels. Could it be that they have the habits built into their life to help them accomplish in the direction that they're going? I believe effective people develop effective habits for life, and they're committed to them, and it helps them move forward. Habits are so powerful. We take them for granted. We barely even notice them, but they change our lives. Go to my next slide. Think about just the definition of habit. It's a continual, often unconscious inclination to do a certain activity acquired through frequent repetition. Man, it's so easy. We miss it. We overlook it. Go to my next one. And it's an established disposition of character. Listen to this process. You sow a thought, you reap an act. This is just the definition of a habit, guys. You sow a thought, you reap an act. You sow an act, you reap a habit. You sow a habit, you reap a character. You sow a character, you reap a destiny. And habits are so powerful. Think about this. You think a thought, and if you think it enough, you do it. And then if you do it enough, it becomes a habit, and then you just keep doing it without even thinking about it. And then that habit becomes your character. And that character grows into your destiny, whether for good or for bad. That's the power of habit. It's a customary practice. And God made us with the ability for habituation, to have habits. God has given us the ability to formulate and function within habits. Now, habits themselves, in a sense, are neutral. You can have good habits, you can have bad habits. But habits are powerful for changing our lives. And when we align our habits in line with God's word and God's principles and God's values, they become powerful tools for change in our lives. Think about Colossians chapter 3, verses 9 and 10. It says, do not lie to each other, since you have taken off your old self with its practices, meaning its habits, and have put on the new self, which is being renewed in the knowledge and image of its creator. So in this verse, he's talking about putting off old habits, bad habits, and putting on new practices, new ways, new habits for a new life that we have in God. And we can practice something so much that it becomes just repetition. We don't even think about it, and we do it. And it becomes powerful. We would be in a mess if we did not have this ability to form habits. Our life would be chaos. Habits make up a significant portion of our day. A lot of the decisions you make every day are not daily decisions, they are habits. Over 40% of what you do every day is habit, whether good or bad. Think about this. When you got up in the morning, did you even think about what you had to do? I've got a list of about 10 things I do every morning without even thinking about it. Partly because it's desperate, I've got to go to the bathroom, but that's another story. But there's things that we do, there's a list of things that we do in the morning just out of habit. There's a natural routine. Think about it. Did you even think about how to drive to church this morning? There's a way you go, probably every Sunday, you go the same way. What is that? It's a habit, and you don't even have to think about it. Turn here, turn there, blinker here, blinker. Oh, wait a minute, we don't use blinkers down here. Never mind, that's up north. Forget about that. That's not a habit down here. So many things we do out of habit. If we create positive, godly habits in our life, they create so much momentum over the long term that it changes our life. Routine runs our life. Habits run our life. We are creatures of habit. We love to do things the same way. And it becomes powerful in our life. It can also become powerful in a negative way, just as it can be in a good way. But habits shape our lives. They shape who we are. So here's the thing. Pick your habits carefully. Pick your habits carefully. They shape your life. What you do every day matters more than what you do once in a while. Because what you do once in a while doesn't become a habit until you start doing it every day. So the question is, what habits do we have that we need to change? How can we harness the power of habits to help God change our lives? Again, over 40% of our lives are based upon habits. Small habits bring big change, but slowly over time. Here's the downside of habits. They bring big change, but it's slowly over time. Here's the thing, what happens, right? We want to lose weight, so we start some new habits. We're trying to get some new habits into our life. We're eating right, we're exercising. And after a week of that, guess what? You didn't lose weight. You gained a couple pounds. Anybody ever do that? I've been doing this for a week now. I gained 2 pounds. Habits don't bring immediate results. Ever done this? Man, it's a new year. I'm going to get started. I'm getting in a new Bible plan. You're in there reading and praying every day, and after a week, your life hasn't gotten better. It's gotten more difficult. Anybody ever have that happen? You're like, I thought this was supposed to make my life better. Now things have gotten harder. Slow results. It works over time. Big changes happen slowly. Small habits bring big change in our lives. They just don't happen immediately. It works in the opposite too. We can pick up a bad habit. We can start doing something that's bad. It's like we do it once and like, man, I skipped church one time. I mean, everything's good. I feel like God's still blessing me. I go a second week. I get third week, a 4th week. I get like, man, I've gotten a habit of not going to church. And you know what? Everything's still going good. And then maybe you pick up a few other bad habits, keep moving you away from God. And next thing you know, your life is in the middle of some serious crisis because you've drifted further and further away from God slowly over time. It didn't happen all at once. It didn't happen all of a sudden. It was slow. But it worked a change in your life and then ended up bringing you to a place where you never thought you would go. Habits. They work slowly, but they work powerfully over time. Small changes, small tweaks, small habits, good habits, over time bring big change. Question is, what habits do we need to change? What habits do we need to let go of in this new year? What habits do we need to put into our new year? These little decisions that become habits in our life build big change. Galatians chapter 6, verse 9 says this, let us not become weary in doing good, for in the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Let us not become weary in doing good. Man, let's do good stuff. Let's develop some good habits. If we continue in them, we will reap a harvest from those habits. Again, habit can be good, habit can be bad. You'll reap a harvest either way. It changes our life. Habits. You guys even think about, like, everybody brush their teeth every morning? You ever think, like, does anybody floss their teeth? Like, I floss my teeth almost every, thank you for that back there. The rest of you guys need to start that habit of flossing every day. It's really good for you. That's what the dentist tells me. The way we eat becomes a habit. You know what? We can have a habit of anger. We can let anger loose in our life, and it becomes a habit, a way of life, and it begins to control us. What habits? Worry. Worry can become a habit in our life. We can allow worry. We can worry about so many things, so much. It becomes a habit and a way of life. It's just, we just worry. Even if we don't have anything to worry about, we worry. What habits do we need to let go of into the new year? What new habits do we need to begin? Number 4, here's what we need to do. We need to know some things. What we don't know, many times when we're trying to start a new habit, we don't know the purpose, we don't know the process, and we don't know the payoff. And therefore, we don't keep up with these habits that we need to be doing. We don't know the purpose, we don't know the process, we don't know the payoff. This is many times why we fail and change. Let me give you an example. Let's say I want to start a reading and praying, a daily quiet time with God. Man, I've been struggling maybe through the last part of the year. I need to get back at that, so I'm gonna set this. So go to my next slide. So getting time with God daily. So the purpose, there's lots of purposes we could have for spending time with God, getting to know him better, wanting to draw closer to him. One of the purposes could be to get direction from him, that we need direction for our life. So you can go through whatever habit you wanna develop or need to develop. What's the purpose? Why am I doing this? Well, one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons is to get direction from God. I need his guidance. I need his direction for my life. Psalm 25, verse 4 and 5 says, "Show me your ways, Lord. Teach me your paths. Guide me in your truth and teach me, for you are God, my Savior, and my hope is in you all day long." I mean, I need direction. I need guidance for my life. I got a lot of decisions to make. I want to make some good decisions. I need to get with God. I need to get his direction. What's the process look like? The process looks like getting alone with God. Luke chapter 5, verse 16, but Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. That's the process. And we've got to set down the time, the place. What am I going to do during that time? What scriptures am I going to read? What am I going to pray? You got to develop out that process. Get alone with God. What does that look like? When is it going to happen? Where is it going to happen? What are you going to do when you're by yourself with God? You've got to develop that process. You've got to have a process for what I'm going to do. Then the next one is the payoff. You end up getting his help. Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. We end up getting direction from God in our life. Let's talk about getting healthy, eating right. What's the purpose? There's lots of purposes we could have for eating right and getting healthy. It could be, man, my blood pressure's going up, my cholesterol's going up, I need to lower these things. It could be, I just need to lose some weight. It could be, hey, I want to honor God with my body. That could be a purpose or a reason for it. 1 Corinthians 6, 19, 20 says, "Do you not know that your bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? So you are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies." Like you just might be saying, like, I just want to honor God with my body. So I want to get healthy. I want to eat right. This is the temple of the Holy Spirit. I want to take care of it. And so you have the purpose, the why. But then what's the process? What does the process? If we don't figure out the process, we're not going to do it. The process may look something like this. Plan healthy meals. Avoid processed food. Stay consistent by meal prep. You got to work out the process. Several years ago, I was overweight and my blood pressure was going up, my cholesterol was going up, and I went through this process of what do I do? How do I change this without using medication? How do I get healthy all naturally? And I started looking for the process. What does that look like? And I know what that looks like for me. And so I started off with, what does breakfast look like? I have a process in place. And you know what? Breakfast is now a habit for me. I don't even think about what to eat. I know exactly what I'm going to eat. Lunch the same way. I put a process in place. It doesn't take me a lot of time. It doesn't take me a lot of work. Dinner became a process. I figured out the process. It became very easy. Then I got a little nervous. What about when I travel? Because sometimes I travel for work or for pleasure. How am I going to eat? Can I stay on my eating plan? And so I figured it out. How do I travel and still eat the way I want to eat? And so I figured that out. You know what? Now it's become so part of a habit in my life that when I travel, it's not a big deal. I know exactly where to eat. I know where to go. I know how to eat on the road. I have a process that I've defined out. I've laid it out and I've made it so it's so simple I can be successful in this no matter where I go. What's the payoff? The payoff is if you're eating to glorify God with your body, then feeling confident, strong, and equipped to serve God and your family and others around you. For others, it might be losing that way. It might be your blood pressure coming down, your cholesterol coming down. The question is, do we understand the process? Do we know what the purpose is? Do we know what the process is? Do we know what the payoff is? If we've not clearly defined those and really sold ourselves on this is why I'm doing this, and this is a good idea, and this is God's idea for me, we're gonna struggle to keep the changes that we want to make in our life. So over the next 4 weeks, we're gonna be talking about what changes do we need to make spiritually, what changes do we need to make physically, what changes do we need to make relationally, and what changes do we need to make financially. And I want you to think about those in terms of habits, partly in part of habits, because habits rule our life. If we can develop some godly values or habits in our life, it will change us slowly over time. Will you stand with me this morning as we get ready to close in prayer? So starting off in this new year with new change, a new canvas for God, for us to co-labor with God, to see him work and move in our life and continue to mold us and shape us into the image of his son. What's your next step this morning?